And here we go.
Where Colin was right.
The Commanders were my preseason pick to be a dark horse playoff team. I pick every one. Last year it was the Rams. This year it was the Commanders. They're number 3 in yards per play. I think they have to make a move, perhaps to shore up the cornerback position in the trade deadline. Rising star. Listen, I really like this staff between Kingsbury, Dan Quinn. They look well coached, but they've got some issues on the back end. But this was our dark horse playoff team, and it appears we got it right.
All right. That's it. That's all we got for the Washington Commanders right now. Silly me for thinking that these shows would be all over the Washington Commanders today. And unfortunately, they're not. Preseason, I said that the Commanders were going up against a media battle and all of that. But I thought things were going to change a little bit after Jayden Daniels is having a historic beginning to his career as a rookie quarterback. The Commanders are just so exciting in all of this. And you know, even the Herd, and again, no disrespect to the Herd, I love Colin, but he opened up with the Dallas Cowboys, right? And then even the Chicago Bears. It was about the Chicago Bears losing, not about the Washington Commanders winning. And luckily on Sunday, I posted a video like immediately because that game was wild, obviously, as Commanders fans know. And I gave my quick thoughts on it all. And I said, hey, I'm going to go do a deeper dive. And so we'll do it through the Herd. We'll do it for First Things First as well. I assume they're going to talk about it on First Things First. I mean, they're going to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Raiders game. Like, that game mattered at all. But let's talk about this game. I'm excited to get into it. You guys know that I will talk about Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders because I also had them. I didn't have them as a dark horse. That was my prediction. I said Jayden Daniels is going to be great for the Commanders, and the Commanders are going to make the playoffs, and that's looking better and better and better by the second. What I love is what Romo said, and a lot of Commanders fans, I learned this, and I get it because he's Dallas Cowboys and all of that, but do not like Romo, and I think Romo's been very positive for Jayden Daniels. So, I mean, that is my perspective of it. He was one of the first commentators to really, really praise Jayden Daniels and talk about some of his throws and his decision making and his reads, or how high level they are. And he even said the game is slow for Jayden Daniels, again, a positive, and says, he moves defenders in zone better than anyone. I mean, those are some awesome compliments. Like, you can't ask for much more. So and I obviously 100% agree. But from a defensive side of the ball for the Commanders, because we'll get to Jayden, of course, made Caleb immediately uncomfortable, right? Opening drive, and then the first 3 drives from there on out. I mean, Caleb was making bad throws. He was uncomfortable. He felt rushed. I mean, it was a masterclass. I mean, Caleb had 36 yards in the first 3 quarters. I mean, that's unbelievable. And then, of course, he got going in that final quarter, in the fourth. But he was uncomfortable the entire time. Whereas Jayden Daniels was comfortable the entire time, right? That is what the Commanders do so well. It's not only Jayden, but it's also the game plan and coaching. This game was close the entire time, right? Obviously 18-15. Mainly because the Commanders could not get it to the end zone, but it was because of just untimely drops and untimely penalties. Whether you want to say the penalty should have been called or not, there were penalties. So it's like you can't get lost in that too much. But it was just like, if you didn't get that penalty at that moment, or you just didn't drop the ball at that time, the score ends up being like 28 to 12 or something, right? Like the score just completely changes. Especially with how football works, because then the play call, like, it's such a domino effect, butterfly effect, whatever you want to use it. Like, the play calling is changing, the defense will then change, like, everything just changes. But the fact that they could not get into the end zone, and make no mistake about it, the Chicago Bears have a really, really good defense. And yet Jayden Daniels, for the most part, listen, he had his moments where they weren't perfect, but he also had his moments where he really excelled. Like I said before, this was, to me, his most impressive win and his most impressive performance, because it wasn't perfect. And like I said in my post-game, my immediate post-game breakdown, when you're such an elite athlete and such a high-level great athlete, it's really easy to be great when everything's going well, right? Like that momentum, like it's right. We see this with like the Steph Currys of the world, the Mahomeses of the world, the Brady's. Like when everything is really great, it's so easy just to roll and roll and roll. What really makes someone special is when things aren't going so great and you continue to find a way. And that's what Jayden Daniels was able to do. And listen, I'm not going to get into this whole debate of Jayden Daniels versus Caleb Williams. I've already talked about how Jayden Daniels is having the better season. He's having the better year, and that he's rookie of the year and actually genuinely in the MVP conversation. No question about it. So I don't want to get lost too much in the comparisons because I do think Caleb Williams, will be great as well. But when you watch this game in just a vacuum, you're not thinking about anything that happened in the past. You're not making any predictions whatsoever into the future. You're just looking at this game right now. And you say, who is the better quarterback? The answer is undeniably Jayden Daniels. 21 for 38, 326 yards, 8.6 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown, 92.7 rating, and 8 carries for 52 rushing yards. Even if we take away the Hail Mary, that's fine. Take away 60 yards, and it will technically reduce his yards per attempt to like 7.9 or something, whatever it ends up being. It's still awesome. Again, it could have been better, of course, but again, this is what his 6th star or 7th star, right? Because technically he started, but he only played for like 5 minutes, so don't really count that. But right, against a great defense, against a top defense in the NFL, defense that made CJ Stroud look uncomfortable, right? So this is no scrub defense whatsoever. Compare that to Caleb, who went 10 for 24, 131 yards, 5.5 yards per attempt, and a 59 rating, right? Who I said looked uncomfortable the entire time. Caleb still looked confident, but he looked uncomfortable. And that was a combination between the defense and just Caleb, honestly. Whereas Jayden Daniels, even when there was times for this game to be uncomfortable, you could tell he was locked, focused, and ready to go. And it wasn't done in a way, because you could see this even with Caleb on the sideline. This anxiousness of like, I got to get back out there. I got to get back out there. I got to get back out there, right? We got to make moves. We got to make moves. We got to make moves. Jayden Daniels had the energy of like, we will make moves. We will get this done, right? There's just a difference, a different level of confidence that resonates. And as a commenter pointed out, which I saw, but I kind of skipped over it, I'll be honest with you. This was at the end of the game after the Hail Mary. Like, I was all fired up and I was like, I got to make a video right away. And so I had it on the background as I was getting set up to make a video. And, he got interviewed and he just immediately was like, oh, I give it up to God. And like, this was such an insane moment for a rookie quarterback that you couldn't blame him for being like just really overstimulated and just being like, oh God, it was so awesome. I love this team and this, that, right? Like you would see the excitement and it would make total sense for him to be just kind of just surging with adrenaline. I mean, you saw Dan Quinn was going nuts. He was like throwing the headphones down, right? Like everyone's going nuts and freaking out and cheering. You're at home. The fans are going wild. Like it's just such an intense moment. You would expect him to just, I don't know, even just like fumble over some of his words. I fumble over my words all the time. You see how excited I get. And he was just so calm. And it was almost like he didn't care, honestly, right? We obviously know he does, but it was just so casual. And it was, honestly, it's remarkable. Honestly, I mean, it's remarkable because he could have said, we put in the work, all this. Like, he could have just said things that would have been totally okay and understandable and would have made sense. And you could have still praised it and said, oh, I love this guy. But the fact that he was just so chill and was just like, yeah, man, like just how it goes, like, was just, to me, that was legendary. I mean, it was just awesome. But even the plays that didn't work out for Jayden Daniels, right? Like the insane scramble throw that he had, even though there was no touchdown, right? Only 1 foot in. Like, it's just the throws that he's making are just unreal. 3rd and 9, right? The dime to McLaurin for 61 yards for his career long. I mean, it was just, I wrote down, this was vengeance for some of the Bears fans that kept saying that he's a running back. Right, because leading up to this game, you had so many Chicago Bears fans saying he's a running back. He's a running back. And it's like, it's fascinating because if you don't really watch the games, and I've watched every single Jayden Daniels game, I could see how if you're watching highlights of him, you're watching maybe some of these shows, you don't really know. And so if you're not watching all these games, as a fan, you have two types of fans. Fans that just don't formulate opinions, which would be appropriate. Unless you actually have a real reason to formulate an opinion, you should just be like, yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to find out. Or you have the people that just make opinions with no actual evidence whatsoever. So as soon as someone in the comment section says he's a running back, I'm like, oh, okay. So you signal to me you obviously have no idea what you're talking about. They're like, oh, he can't throw. It's like, okay, it's like I'm not even going to really have that much of a conversation. I just write like, I think these days I've just been writing LOL, right? Like laugh out loud, or like an emoji of me like juggling or something, because it's just like you clearly have zero idea. It's not like we have a difference of opinions here, because you could say, hey, I don't think Jayden Daniels is as good of a quarterback or as good of a throw or whatever, and it's like I disagree with that. But like at least at least it could be a legitimate opinion. But when you're making a statement of like he can't throw, he's a running back or this or that, how many passing touchdowns does he have? It's like, okay, you obviously just have not watched these games unfold, so there's really no actual conversation to be had. So when he was able to do that, like, it's just I did after that game comment to other people, and I was like, you look pretty good for a running back, right? That running back sure is a pretty good quarterback then. I mean, just legendary. Right. I mean, I know there was a flag, or he had hands in his face, 3rd and 8, after that touchdown was flagged, because they had the touchdown, but then it got called back with the, pass to Ertz. I mean, it was just a veteran throw, and a moment when the Bears were in a position to be able to rip momentum, right? They were going to be able to take the momentum, right? You have a flag, 3rd and 8, and the play could have been gone, but to be able to make that pass to Ertz, I love to see Ertz continue to be Jayden Daniels' security blanket. He's been that way for a lot of quarterbacks over his career. He's such a reliable guy. Just really awesome to see. And then even when it was a catch, right? It was clearly a catch, but they still hurry up. They still, weren't sure, so they still kind of went through it, even if they did throw a flag, it would have been fine. But to have them hurry up after that and then pick up a key first down, the hurry up after picking up a key first down, to McLaurin in the 4th, right? To then get positive yards. Because sometimes you're doing the hurry up and you're just like, we got to get it. We needed that first down really badly. But then to be able to get to the line, beat the flag in case, the challenge, in case it was going to be challenged and not, and not have the play stand. But to then also get positive yardage as well. I think it was like 3 or 4 yards. Again, that is a team that is composed. That is a quarterback that is composed. That is a coaching staff that knows what to do. That is a coaching staff that is setting their players up for success, that is preparing them for the moment. Because you could have seen this go many different ways. I've seen this go many different ways. One, they don't get to the line fast enough and run the play, challenge flag. And again, it would have been okay in this circumstance, but it won't always. There's going to be a time when they got to rush to the line when they get a play and it was like clearly dropped, right? That's obviously going to happen throughout the Commanders, existence, through Jayden Daniels' career. So the fact that they were able to get to the line and just get the play off, awesome. The fact that they were able to get positive yards, awesome. Because so many times you see they get to the line and then it's a false start. They're calling hike and the ball is not hiked and a bunch of the linemen move and nothing happens. And it's like, great, now it's a flag. That actually happened against the Eagles versus the Bengals on Sunday as well. So you see that stuff happen all the time. Or they quickly run a play, but it goes like 1 yard. Or it's like 0 yards or like -1 or 2 yards. So the fact that they were able to get everyone on the line, get the play off, it was all smooth, and get positive yards, again, it seemingly is a small thing. And you're like, oh, well, it doesn't matter because it was a catch anyway, so it doesn't matter. It matters because it signals such a deeper culture of this team, of why it's easier to believe in this team and not just say, well, they got lucky with the Hail Mary. Yeah, there is undeniably some luck involved in a Hail Mary, right? Undeniably. But the Hail Mary is actually a perfect representation of what this team is. Because you have to be really prepared and execute a Hail Mary properly as it was. That was executedly, is that a word? It was executed perfectly, right? Jayden Daniels had to buy time for 12, 13 seconds. He didn't just call hike, run real far back, and then launch it. No. He had to buy time for 12, 13 seconds, which is not easy. That's not easy. You could say, you could blame the defensive play call for the Bears all you want. The fact that Jayden Daniels moved all around, bought time, had to legitimately buy time, keep his eyes down the field, avoid getting hit, and still throw a strike, and then have it set up where you have the guy behind the pile, so to speak, and then be ready for it. Again, you see so many times, even a Hail Mary is just that. It's a Hail Mary, you call hike, whatever, you launch it up, and it's like, let's see what happens. That's not what this play was, right? It was more than that. So again, putting these players in a position to be prepared, to properly execute, and put yourself in a situation to get lucky. I mean, football players get lucky. Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, all these guys get lucky all the time. Luck is part of sports. But when a coach can put you in a position to get lucky, like we saw in the Hail Mary, well, then that's not just pure luck, right? That's rising to meet the moment. There is a difference. So when you see a play like that, when he's able to, it's a question: did he catch the ball? Did he not? And you got to get to the line. You really have two types of teams. One team can get that ball off and get the hike it and get the play off, while other teams cannot. And it's awesome to see the Commanders be able to be that team, and to do it with a rookie quarterback is huge. It just is, and it cannot be understated. But yeah, make no mistake about it. This was definitely also an ugly game as well, right? Like this was an ugly, tough, bizarre game, 18-15, right? Obviously took a Hail Mary. Like, this was not a game that the Commanders were necessarily thinking was going to happen. It certainly wasn't the game that the Bears thought was going to happen either. But this game was both exciting and boring at the same time, right? Like, I'll be honest, I just got a speeding ticket like minutes before I watched this game, and so I was furious because it was for just nonsense reason. I won't bore you with that. And so I'm watching this game and I'm looking, and there was a lot of exciting moments. And I'm like, yeah. But then now the way how the game unfolded, I was like, all right, the Bears just took the lead now with 29 seconds left or whatever for the first time. And it was just like, they're going to win this game, because I'm sorry, I was not expecting a Hail Mary, although I did have faith that something could happen, but I'm still human. And so I'm like, all right, the Bears are going to maybe come away with this win, but do they deserve it? Right? Like, does a team that takes the lead in the final 30 seconds, are they more deserving or less deserving, right? And I'm also now looking at the box score and I go, Jayden Daniels clearly played better, but Caleb Williams now got the win. And so all these Bears fans are going to say, oh, ha, Caleb got the win. And it's like, well, he didn't really play that good. And they're going to say, well, he played good when it mattered in the fourth quarter. All of this type of stuff. And so I'm already, like, I have my notes and stuff, and so I'm already kind of constructing and thinking about things that, I'm just evaluating the game, right? I'm kind of thinking about it. And now I see that final drive and what Jayden Daniels was able to do. And I was able to be like, all right, you know what? Even though they weren't able to catch a touchdown, in a Hail Mary, it was so great to see them execute it, what Jayden Daniels was able to do, how they were able to get some first downs. And there was the one play that I thought Jayden should have ran, because he would have gotten a lot of yards, but instead he tried to throw the ball down the field, and I think it was just an incomplete. And it was like, he could have ran and gotten closer to where he needed to be, and it still would have left time. But it was like, okay, what are you going to do? He's trying to be aggressive. And then when you see the throw and the catch, it was just like, I was like, I can't believe what I just saw, right? I ran and told my mom and my dad, I was like, you got to watch this. I was like, I know you don't really care that much. Whatever you're doing, stop what you're doing. You got to watch this. This is absolutely... I quickly gave them the rundown. I was like, okay, here's the setup. This is Jayden Daniels. He's this great quarterback. He's a rookie. He was playing Caleb Williams, the number 1 overall pick. Yada, yada, yada. And I quickly gave him the setup, and I was like, here, now watch the final 30 seconds of this game. And it was just a great moment. And so if you're a Commanders fan, you've had so little to cheer for, years, really. And so now to see this unfold, I just think is really special, really awesome, really exciting. And to do it against the number 1 pick, Caleb Williams, Chicago Bears, like it or not, there is a rivalry, and it definitely feels more one-sided in the sense that the Chicago Bears fans care way more than the Washington Commanders. That's indisputable from my experience interacting with everyone in the comment section. You, of course, have some Commanders fans that want to see Caleb just crash and burn. I want to see both these quarterbacks succeed. I'm excited for the future to have lots of these duels, come throughout the season, seasons, in the playoffs and all of that. I think the NFL is better when we have these types of things. And I think we can celebrate both these quarterbacks without trying to trash and bring down the other. But the fact that the Commanders were able to win this way against the Bears, against Caleb Williams, just makes it that much. Because if this was against the Eagles, maybe if it was a divisional game against the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Giants, it would probably still be exciting because it is a divisional game and whatnot. But I think it adds something a little special going up against the #1 overall pick, the quarterback that Jayden Daniels will be compared to for his entire career, unless he starts winning Super Bowls, and now they're comparing him to like Mahomes and Brady and Lamar, right? Which is a possibility, right? I'm not putting any cap on Jayden Daniels. It's just in the beginning of his career, it's definitely going to be a lot of side-by-side comparisons to Caleb Williams. So the fact that he was able to get this big win, and the Commanders as a whole were able to get this win, is just pretty extraordinary from my viewpoint. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. You guys know I'm always going to bring the Commander stuff, right? Colin talked for a minute and I just went off for 20 minutes. So it's like, if they're not going to talk about it, I'm certainly going to talk about it. But let me know how you all feel in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.